Security Chief Isabella Rodriguez stood at the observation deck of Nexus 7, watching the endless stream of merchant vessels dock and depart against the backdrop of swirling nebula clouds. After 15 years of service on humanity's premier interstellar trading hub, she thought she'd seen everything. She was wrong. Another incident, Chief Rodriguez. Lieutenant Patel's voice carried a note of tension that immediately put Isabella on alert. Third Sector, Merchant Row. The Varkathi delegation is demanding immediate action. Isabella's jaw tightened. The third incident this week, and always targeting the wealthiest merchant species. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and humanity was being set up to take the fall. The security feed showed the aftermath: a ransacked luxury goods storage unit, sophisticated security measures bypassed with remarkable precision. The Varkathi merchant, Ambassador ZYXX, towered over Isabella's security team, his crystalline form pulsing with angry red light. This is no coincidence, ZYXX's translator conveyed his thoughts in sharp, staccato bursts. 3 attacks, all requiring human biological markers for access. Your species has much to answer for. Isabella maintained her professional composure, though her heart raced. The evidence was damning: human fingerprints, human DNA traces, even human-specific access codes. Too perfect, too neat. In 15 years of investigating crimes across 17 species, she'd never seen perpetrators leave such an obvious trail. Ambassador ZYXX, I assure you we're treating this with utmost priority, Isabella began, but was cut short by the arrival of Karthax, the station's senior diplomatic liaison. The insectoid alien's normally iridescent carapace had dulled to an anxious gray. Chief Rodriguez, the Galactic Commerce Council has called an emergency session. Karthax's mandibles clicked rapidly. They're considering revoking humanity's trading privileges. All of them. Isabella felt the blood drain from her face. Humanity's entire economic future in space rested on their position as neutral trading partners. Losing that would set human advancement back decades, if not centuries. They can't do that without an investigation, she protested, but Karthax's antenna drooped. The evidence seems conclusive, the alien diplomat said carefully. Unless you can prove otherwise within the next 48 hours, the council will vote. And Chief Rodriguez, the vote will not go in humanity's favor. Isabella turned back to the crime scene, mind racing. The perpetrators had accessed the storage unit using human biometrics, but something about the pattern felt wrong. The security systems had been bypassed with a level of sophistication that spoke of intimate knowledge of both human and alien technology. Lieutenant Patel, she called out, get me everything we have on similar incidents from the past 6 months. Not just the obvious ones, I want to know about every theft, every security breach, no matter how small. As her team scrambled to action, Isabella noticed something odd about the access panel. The fingerprints were perfect, too perfect. In 15 years of forensics, she'd never seen prints so clean, so precisely placed. Karthax, she asked slowly, what species aboard this station has the capability to synthesize human biological markers? The diplomat's carapace shifted to a thoughtful blue. Several, technically. But the process is heavily regulated after the Proxima incident. The only facilities with that capability would be. Karthax stopped abruptly, mandibles clicking in what Isabella recognized as alarm. Would be what? She pressed. Would be in the medical research sector, Karthax finished quietly. Where we've been developing cross-species medical procedures. Where representatives from every major trading species have access. Isabella smiled grimly. Finally, a lead that made sense. Show me the access logs for those facilities. All of them. Someone's trying to frame humanity, and I'm going to find out why. As she followed Karthax toward the research sector, Isabella couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something obvious. The attacks had started 3 months ago, right after the announcement of the new galactic trade agreement. The agreement that would have given humanity unprecedented access to alien technologies. The agreement that several powerful species had opposed. Lieutenant Patel, she called over her comm, check something for me. I want to know which species stood to lose the most if that trade agreement went through. The pieces were starting to fall into place. Now she just had to prove it, before humanity lost everything they'd worked so hard to build. The medical research sector of Nexus 7 hummed with activity even during night cycle. Isabella studied the holographic display of access logs floating before her, while Karthax's antennae twitched nervously beside her. There, Lieutenant Patel's voice crackled through the comm, Chief, I found something. The trade agreement analysis you requested, 3 species would have faced significant market share losses, the Varkathi, the Zenare, and the Meridian Collective. Isabella's eyes narrowed. The Varkathi, the same species that had been the most vocal about the supposed human threats. The same species whose merchant had just been robbed. Send me everything you have on their representatives aboard the station, she ordered, then turned to Karthax. I need access to the biometric synthesis labs. Now. Karthax's carapace shifted to a worried purple. Chief Rodriguez, those labs are restricted even to security personnel. The diplomatic implications will be nothing compared to what happens if humanity loses its trading rights, Isabella cut in. Someone accessed those labs to create perfect human fingerprints. I need to know who. The diplomatic liaison's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of internal conflict Isabella had learned to recognize. Finally, Karthax's color stabilized. I will help you. But we must be discreet. The labs were a marvel of xenotechnology. Synthesis chambers lined the walls, each capable of recreating biological markers from any known sentient species. Isabella approached a central console, her trained eye immediately catching something out of place. The safety protocols, she murmured. They've been modified. Karthax leaned in, compound eyes reflecting the console's glow. Impossible. Those protocols require multiple high-level authorizations to. A sharp crack echoed through the lab. Isabella spun around, hand moving to her weapon, but she wasn't fast enough. A shimmer in the air solidified into a Zenare warrior, its phase shift camouflage deactivating. The alien's 4 arms already held charged weapons. Step away from the console, the Zenare's harmonics translator demanded. Slowly. Isabella raised her hands, mind racing. You've been watching us. Waiting to see if we'd figure it out. Humans are more perceptive than we anticipated, another voice joined in. A Varkathi merchant emerged from behind a synthesis chamber. Ambassador Zwxx himself. Perhaps that is why you have advanced so quickly. Too quickly. Karthax's carapace had gone completely white, a sign of extreme distress. Ambassador Zwxx, this is a violation of multiple treaties. The Council will. The Council will do exactly what we tell them to do, Zwxx's crystalline form pulsed with smug satisfaction. Once humanity is discredited, the natural order will be restored. The newer species will know their place. Isabella noticed Lieutenant Patel's signal light blinking on her comm unit. She kept talking, buying time. You arranged everything. The robberies, the evidence. But why target your own merchandise? Sacrifice is necessary for progress, the Varkathi's translator hummed. We merely accelerated what was inevitable. Humanity's ambition would have led to conflict eventually. Better to eliminate the threat now. The lab's door slid open. Isabella tensed, expecting more hostile aliens. Instead, a familiar figure stepped through, Director Narn of the Galactic Commerce Council. The ancient Meridian's tentacles writhed with obvious disgust. Is this why you called me here, Chief Rodriguez? To witness treason against the Council. Isabella allowed herself a small smile. Actually, Director, I called you here to witness a confession. She nodded toward her still blinking comm unit. Everything since we entered this lab has been transmitted directly to the Council's secure channels. Lieutenant. Patel's voice filled the lab. Transmission confirmed, Chief. The Council has received everything. The Zenare warriors' weapons wavered. ZYXX's crystalline form flashed chaotic patterns of rage and disbelief. You don't understand, the Varkathi ambassador's translator spat. Humanity is a disease. You spread too fast, adapt too quickly. The older species built this galaxy's civilization. We will not be supplanted by newcomers who prove themselves worthy of joining our community. Director Narn interrupted. Who demonstrated innovation, resilience, and a genuine desire for peaceful cooperation. The Meridian's tentacles formed complex patterns of authority and judgment. The Council will not look kindly on this conspiracy, Ambassador. Isabella kept her hands raised, but stood straighter. You wanted to frame humanity for crimes we didn't commit. Instead, you've just proved exactly why we deserve our place among the stars. The lab's doors opened again, filling with Council security forces. As the conspirators were led away, Kearthax's carapace slowly shifted to a deep blue of relief and respect. The evidence is irrefutable, the diplomat clicked softly. But there are still questions to be answered. Other conspirators to be found. Isabella nodded, already thinking ahead. The investigation wasn't over, it was just beginning. And somewhere in the station's maze of politics and hidden agendas, more answers waited to be discovered. Lieutenant Patel, she called, get me everything you can find on communications between our conspirators and the other trading hubs. Something tells me this goes way beyond Nexus 7. As she watched Council security lead away the shocked conspirators, Isabella couldn't help but wonder, how deep did this prejudice against humanity really run? And what other plots might be lurking in the shadows of their bright new interstellar future? The data streams flowing across Isabella's office terminal painted her face in an ethereal blue glow. 3 days had passed since the arrests, but each answer only led to more questions. Lieutenant Patel's voice cut through her concentration. Chief, you need to see this. He transferred a file to her display. Communications logs from the Varkathi embassy. They were using quantum-encrypted channels to contact someone in the Orion Arm Trading Coalition. Isabella leaned forward, eyes scanning the decoded fragments. The coalition? They're supposed to be neutral territory. Supposed to be, Kearthax emerged from the shadows, carapace shifting through worried colors. But I've received disturbing reports. Other stations have experienced similar incidents. All targeting human interests. All carefully disguised. The implications sent a chill down Isabella's spine. This wasn't just about Nexus 7. It was about humanity's place in the galactic community itself. Director Narn has granted us emergency clearance, she announced, standing. We're going to the Coalition hub. Now. The journey through fold space was brief, but Isabella's mind raced with possibilities. The Orion Arm Trading Coalition operated from a massive station that dwarfed Nexus 7, its spiral arms housing representatives from hundreds of species. As their shuttle docked, something felt wrong. The usually bustling arrival bays were nearly empty. Emergency lighting cast ominous shadows across abandoned merchant stalls. Security lockdown, Patel observed, checking his scanner. Initiated 3 hours ago. Kearthax's antennae twitched. The coalition hasn't had a full lockdown in over 50 cycles. Something is very wrong. They were met by Coalition Security Director Ven, a towering selenite whose crystalline body structure reminded Isabella uncomfortably of the Varkathi. Chief Rodriguez. Your timing is either fortunate or suspicious. What's happened? Isabella demanded. A breach in our quantum vault. Centuries of trading secrets, technological specifications, diplomatic agreements, all potentially compromised. Ven's crystal matrix pulsed with controlled anger. And once again, we find human biological markers at the scene. Isabella exchanged glances with Karthax. The same markers synthesized in our medical labs. Impossible to tell. Our analysis systems were sabotaged during the breach. Then led them through eerily quiet corridors. But that's not the worst part. They entered the Coalition's central security hub. Dozens of screens showed similar scenes from trading stations across the galaxy. Lockdowns. Investigations. Accusations. It's coordinated, Isabella breathed. They're trying to destroy human trading rights everywhere at once. But why? Patel asked. The trade agreement was important, but this level of coordination, these resources. Because it was never about trade, a new voice interrupted. They turned to find Director Narn floating in the doorway, tentacles moving in patterns of grave concern. It was about technology. Specifically, human innovation rates. The Meridian Director moved to the central display, bringing up a series of charts. Human adaptation and technological development has exceeded all projected models. Your species has accomplished in decades what took others centuries. And that threatens the established order, Karthax clicked thoughtfully. The older species fear being left behind. Isabella studied the data, a horrible realization dawning. The quantum vault breach. They weren't stealing secrets, they were planting evidence. Making it look like humanity's rapid progress came from stolen technology. Precisely, Narn's tentacles formed complex shapes of approval. With such evidence, they could demand humanity's quarantine from galactic society. All in the name of security. A sudden explosion rocked the station. Emergency sirens blared as the lights flickered. Multiple breaches detected. Ven's crystalline form pulsed with alarm. Engineering, life support, and the evidence vault. They're destroying the proof of their own conspiracy, Isabella realized. Lieutenant, get me station schematics. Karthax, contact every diplomatic channel you have. Director Narn, we need. Another explosion cut her off. Through the viewport, she watched in horror as ships emerged from fold space, warships bearing the marks of species she'd thought were allies. This isn't just about trade anymore, she said quietly. They're willing to start a war to keep humanity isolated. As emergency teams scrambled and diplomats argued, Isabella knew they were running out of time. Somewhere in this station was the proof they needed, proof of a conspiracy spanning species and centuries. But their enemies were willing to destroy everything to keep their secrets. And now, with hostile ships surrounding them and saboteurs within, she had to find that proof before it was too late. Before humanity became not just blamed, but condemned by the very galactic community they had worked so hard to join. Alarms screamed through the Coalition station as Isabella and her team raced through emergency-lit corridors. Behind them, the sound of weapons fire grew closer. The evidence vault is sealed, Lieutenant Patel reported, his breath coming in gasps. But I managed to download partial records before the system crashed. The attacking ships are holding position, Karthax added, compound eyes reflecting emergency lights. They're broadcasting demands for human representatives to surrender for criminal investigation. Isabella's mind raced. They had minutes, maybe less, before the station's security forces were overwhelmed. Director Narn, what's in that vault that they're so desperate to destroy? The Meridian's tentacles writhed in complex patterns. Records. Ancient ones. The true history of species development and technological advancement. Another explosion rocked the station. Through a viewport, Isabella watched as Coalition defense platforms engaged the hostile ships. The space around the station erupted in a deadly light show. Lieutenant, what did you manage to download? Patel projected a holographic display as they ran. Fragments, mostly. But look at this timeline, technological advancement rates for every known species. There's a pattern. Isabella studied the data, her eyes widening. Every major species, they all had sudden jumps in development. Impossible accelerations in their progress. All except humanity, K'Arthax finished. Your species is the only one showing natural progression. They reached a sealed security door. Beyond it lay the station's quantum computing core, and hopefully, answers. Ven pressed his crystalline form against the access panel, his matrix glowing as he interfaced with the system. The older species, Isabella said slowly, pieces clicking into place. They're not afraid of humanity advancing too quickly. They're afraid we'll discover their secret. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, quantum processors filled the vast chamber with a soft blue glow. And in the center, surrounded by disabled security drones, stood a familiar figure. Ambassador ZUXX. Very good, Chief Rodriguez, the Varkathi's translator hummed. But knowing the truth won't save your species now. You didn't steal technology to advance, Isabella stepped forward, weapon raised. You found it. All of you. Ancient tech, left behind by someone else. ZUXX's crystalline form pulsed with dark amusement. The precursors. They seeded this galaxy with their knowledge, waiting for species worthy of claiming it. For millennia, we maintained the fiction of natural development. But humanity evolved differently, Director Narn's tentacles moved in patterns of revelation. Your progress was truly your own. Dangerous progress, ZUXX spat. Unpredictable. Uncontrolled. You would have discovered the truth eventually. About the precursor caches. About how we truly achieved our advancement. Another explosion rocked the station. Warning lights flashed as artificial gravity fluctuated. The station's containment field is failing, Ven reported. We have minutes before structural collapse. Isabella's mind raced. They had the truth, but with the station about to tear itself apart, no way to prove it to the wider galaxy. Unless. The quantum core, she turned to K'Arthax. It's connected to every major trading hub. Every diplomatic channel. The diplomat's carapace shifted to a hopeful blue. A broadcast? No. ZUXX raised a weapon, but Patel was faster. The security officer's stun blast sent the ambassador crashing into a processor bank. Isabella was already moving. Lieutenant, get me into the broadcasting system. Director Narn, we need your authorization codes. K'Arthax, contact every diplomatic frequency you can reach. Her fingers flew across the quantum interface as the station groaned around them. They had one chance. One broadcast to expose a conspiracy spanning millennia. Quantum connection established, Patel reported. But the core is destabilizing. We'll lose power in 30 seconds. Isabella took a deep breath and began the transmission. To all species of the galactic community. I am Chief Security Officer Isabella Rodriguez of Earth. What you are about to see is the truth about our shared history. The station shuddered as she transferred the evidence, the real technological development curves, the proof of precursor artifacts, the conspiracy to maintain power by the older species. With each passing second, more trading hubs acknowledged receipt of the data. As the quantum core finally failed and emergency evacuation alerts blared, Isabella knew the damage was done. The truth was out. Now they just had to survive long enough to deal with the consequences. The emergency evacuation pods streaked through space as the coalition station's structural integrity finally gave way. Through the pod's viewport, Isabella watched sections of the massive structure tear apart, scattering debris across the starfield. But her attention was on the quantum pad in her hands, watching as responses to their broadcast flooded in from across the galaxy. The Centaurian Alliance is demanding an emergency council session, K'Arthax reported, his carapace cycling through colors of excitement and anxiety. The Arcturus Federation has already recalled their warships. Multiple trading hubs are confirming the data, Patel added. The evidence is irrefutable. The technological advancement patterns, the precursor artifacts. Director Narn's tentacles moved in complex patterns of satisfaction. The truth, once revealed, cannot be hidden again. Their pod's communication system crackled to life with an incoming transmission. The holographic display showed the faces of the Galactic Commerce Council, not just the regular members, but the High Council itself. Species that rarely emerged from their hidden chambers of power. Security Chief Rodriguez, the eldest council member, a luminous being of pure energy, addressed her directly. Your evidence has caused considerable disruption. Isabella straightened, despite the cramped confines of the pod. The disruption was necessary. The lies had to end. Yes, another council member, an ancient crystalline entity far older than ZWXX, pulsed with resigned agreement. Perhaps it was time. We have existed too long in the shadow of our borrowed advancement. The next few hours passed in a blur of diplomatic channels and emergency meetings. As rescue ships collected the evacuation pods, Isabella watched the galaxy's power structure reshape itself in real time. The hostile ships retreated. Trading hubs reopened. And most importantly, the truth spread. 1 week later, Isabella stood before the full Galactic Commerce Council in their ancient chamber on Proxima Prime. The room was packed with representatives from every known species, including the ones who had tried to maintain the conspiracy. The question before us, the council elder's voice resonated through the chamber, is not just about past deceptions. It is about our future. About how we move forward from this revelation. Isabella took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The precursors left their technology as a gift, but also as a test. Not a test of worthiness, but of honesty. Of cooperation. She gestured to the assembled representatives. Some species found the caches and used them to advance. Others were denied access, forced to develop on their own. But the real test wasn't about who had access to the technology, it was about what we would do once we discovered the truth. Karthak stepped forward, his carapace glowing with diplomatic authority. Humanity has proven itself not by advancing quickly, but by earning every step of their progress. They show us what is possible through genuine innovation and determination. And now, Director Narn added, tentacles forming patterns of wisdom, they show us something even more valuable, the courage to face truth, no matter how difficult. The chamber erupted in discussion. Species that had been enemies for millennia began talking about cooperation. About sharing both precursor knowledge and naturally developed innovations. About a new way forward. Ambassador ZWXX, now stripped of rank but permitted to speak, addressed the chamber. We feared human advancement would destroy the order we built. Instead, their discovery of our deception may have saved us from stagnation. The council elder raised its luminous form. Then let this day be marked not as an ending, but a beginning. The old order of secrets and artificial constraints is over. A new age of true cooperation and shared advancement begins. Isabella felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had been blamed, had faced extinction, had nearly sparked an interstellar war. But in exposing the truth, they had achieved something far greater than technological advancement. They had brought hope. As she prepared to return to Nexus 7, now being rebuilt as a symbol of this new era, Karthak approached her. You know, Chief Rodriguez, there is still one mystery unsolved. Oh. The precursors themselves. Why did they leave their technology scattered across the galaxy? What were they preparing us for? Isabella smiled. Maybe that's the next great discovery we'll make. Together, this time. No more secrets, no more lies. The diplomat's carapace shifted to a color she'd never seen before, one that seemed to represent not just hope, but possibility. Together, he agreed. As it always should have been. As her ship broke orbit, Isabella watched the glittering expanse of the galaxy spread out before her. Somewhere out there, the precursor's greatest mysteries still waited to be discovered. But now, with the truth revealed and artificial barriers broken, humanity would face those mysteries as part of a truly united galactic community. The day that humanity faced blame had become the day that changed everything. Not through advanced technology or borrowed power, but through the simple, revolutionary act of pursuing truth.